that I want to allay prefabrication and transportable buildings are not substandard or temporary. What we do, we construct buildings within a factory environment. A factory is about 1,800 square metres of open span. Inside the building we can do probably 6 or 8 buildings at any one time. The types of buildings that we construct are educational, and 18 months ago we launched a new brand of classrooms called the XL, taking into consideration whole of life costs, things like solar energy and exterior cladding, which has 50-year durability. We do residential buildings. Top right one is a police station that we sent to Littleton after the earthquake there. We sent that there early last year. And as I said, we do educational buildings. Beach places. This time last year we did the golf club pro shop at Bridge Park, Papakainga School, and of course you might recognise the Longlands little fruit shop just out towards Railway Road. Just some of the snapshots of some of the inside work that we do. Internal living, police stations, as I said, the classrooms. We've also done the netball pavilion. That was done in 2 parts within our factory, and overnight we took it on site, joined it together and had it down on piles the next day. Our regional council pump shed last year, they had a problem. They wanted a new pump shed. The problem was that they couldn't have the building down for any period of time. So we pre-constructed the building, took the old one off in the morning and had the new one on operational that afternoon. Bottom one, Russell Police Station, shows really a methodology of one of the methodologies that we do around the countryside. The on-site contractors up in Russell pre-did the foundations. We turned up with the building and was able just to lift the building off and plonk it on the foundations, which meant that all the site works, services and everything like that was done prior to us arriving on site. Landscaping is one of the most underrated aspects, we believe, in dealing with construction and buildings. You know, our buildings are probably the most practical, cost-effective. You know, anything you get away from a rectangle is actually going to cost money. We've used Alan. In fact, our first project, we built 6 self-contained cottages in Iron Gate Road. Very first port of call was to go and see Alan and say, Alan, here's some buildings that we want to put on there. Can you give us some ideas of what the layout should be? And from the layout, we then went through a process which I'll talk about later. So we constantly get obstacles and different challenges along the way, but all those obstacles are dealt with during the planning stage. Again, just some more different types of things. So it's really not just a plain old building. We will do whatever the clients want. So we use our designers that deal with the council to talk with architects and engineers and things like that on the client's requirements. The other thing we do is we have a very close arrangement with the EIT in Heretaunga, so their pre-apprenticeship training courses. Students construct buildings that we provide them the designs for. Originally they were doing 62 square metre self-contained buildings, and they were based around the Hastings District Council planning regulations of being able to do 125 square metres of visitor accommodation or workers accommodation. So clients could put 2 of those buildings on as of right. So we would get the EIT to construct those buildings over there, which meant that their students were able to do a complete building from foundations right up to the roof, kitchens in and everything like that, and it takes them a year to do. We identified a need probably 4 years ago that classrooms, the old prefab classrooms, should be replaced, and as it's evolved, that's actually starting to happen. So currently they're building classrooms for us, and more recently Te Taiwhenua up in Gisborne is also doing the same thing. So we've flicked up a design to them, and their students are currently going to be starting that program in the next month. So every business had a mission statement, but Our aim is to construct quality buildings to craftsman standard in a timely manner while meeting the needs of our customers and the individual goals of our staff and business. So it's a real holistic thing that everybody's involvement is important. So we have a whole range of quality systems. I will just flick through these because are going to be struggling for time. So we deal with, the people that we deal with are professionals in the area. It's very keen that, that we're looked at from the policy or planning or the council side of things is providing good documentation. Remember the certified builders, and we're also part of the licensed building practitioners and more recently Prefab New Zealand. So as I said, we've got 1,800 square metres of fully enclosed workshop. We've got 6 hectares of additional land for storage, staff, architectural designers, contractors, so a whole range of people that assist us, because we don't consider us that bright. But however, there are a lot of bright people out there, and the secret is partnerships and dealing with people that know what they're doing. We've developed a whole lot of equipment for prefabrication. We have our own hydraulic jacking plants. We've got different lifting frames to be able to utilise cranes around the countryside. So we take our gear, we ask them to provide the obviously cranes and things like that, and which means that we're able to do the job as quickly as possible. It's a whole lot of things, you know, to do with building sustainable, energy efficiency. You know, one of the key things is that we don't do big, large buildings as a single thing. We might do modules and things like that, but we think, or personally think, that people are building too big of houses, and this has really been pushed along by cheap square metre rates that kind of pushes the envelope of what people are really requiring. And you'll see out there that, you know, a couple are living in huge houses, and we think that really to be sustainable, the size of houses needs to be reduced. That's just a bit of a personal opinion of mine. We use solar. We looked at solar power. One of the things we looked at with schools, or the issues, the problem they had, was that their operational running of a school is increasing. The government only give them a certain amount of money, so when they go over, say for example, use too much power, that actually comes out of their operational budget. So we've looked at, and in one of the buildings we've got on our yard at the moment, we've set up a grid-based solar system where the panels, the light changes into electricity and it goes back into the grid. So they actually get a credit for the electricity they're using. As overseas is becoming more and more energy required, then they're actually producing more solar equipment at a more affordable rate. So I think we're going to find over the next few years that's becoming more and more affordable. Benefits of prefabrication. As I said before, multiple buildings can be constructed simultaneously. It's a guaranteed reduced construction time. You get a whole lot of efficiencies from working in a workshop. Not affected by adverse weather, health and safety, environmental, list goes on-site security, fixed price, experience, knowledge, just a whole lot of things that you can do at the same time. So you can imagine that while you're constructing a building in the workshop, actually on site they're able to do things too. Able to do some landscaping, able to do bring in the services and things like that. And obviously, if you have a number of buildings to build at once, then you should be able to get the job done cheaper than a whole lot of individual on-site requirements. So better control, ideal training environment. The ability to incorporate untrained staff is something that's untapped. You can imagine that if you've got 10 working sites around the area, you've got construction staff, you've got to have qualified staff. In a workshop, you can reduce that down to having less qualified staff because they're in one place to look at untrained staff. So if you've got 5 or 6 buildings on the go, very easy to dovetail that. And I bring that point in because when we talk about social housing, I note in this proposal that while the government may give a grant of 75%, there's the ability that the last 25% is not just a cash input, it can be labour or the like, those kind of things. So that's probably quite an important, I think, a benefit in regards to prefabrication and all those other things that are there. We have established business links, effluent designers, architects, design engineers, the list goes on, because every time we do a rural project, we actually involve all of those people all of the time. As I said, memorandum of understanding, so we've got this, and I think it's great. We've long believed that there hasn't been enough apprentices being trained, enough people coming through. Great to see the government initiative last night, but this is just some of the things that we've been doing over the last few years. At the end of the day, we have to provide documentation to the Hastings District Council or relevant council on their regulatory and planning functions. So having an architect which deals with that stuff on a day-to-day basis means that ideas that clients want, we pass them over, or they meet with the designer architect, and he's able to provide all the documentation or the stuff that the council want. We're also a preferred supplier to the Housing Corporation of New Zealand. We became a preferred supplier about 4 years ago, but we've never had a job. But anyway, we're a preferred supplier. Just some closing comments. I mean, those are the things that we do. We provide full project management as part of our role, because it's far easier for us to provide what we know that council want than clients trying to provide what they think they need. So it's a little bit of, we cut the bureaucracy out of things. We have a construction facility, which just means that we've got a quality environment. Training to staff, established operating procedures. Our operating procedures are acknowledged by the Hastings District Council. If you get a building consent from a construction company, generally there's about 8 inspections required. We provide our in-house operating procedures, which mean the council accept 2 inspections on any of our buildings that are done within the factory. And we're trying to meet the customer's requirements. So factory, construct inside, and we construct anything. Here's where we're trying to work, or we'll look at working with your organisation. What we think the process should be. Before you start, you need to consider a scheme plan. So each of the marae have a scheme plan, landscape design considerations, layout of existing buildings, what is your long-term aim, where is the future buildings going to go, the access routes, the vehicles, the paths, the landscape, and etc. So that's kind of like step 1. The other thing, services. Does the effluent services need upgrading that you currently have in place? Is the Hastings District Council system available? Is there adequate electricity, water, data and telephone? Recently, or a few years ago, you've seen that schools have been upgrading with heat pumps. It sounded all great. They went and upgraded with heat pumps and all of a sudden realised that they didn't have the electricity capability. So then blew the budgets out by several $100,000. They haven't put bigger transformers. So they're the kind of considerations. Is fibre optic cabling important? So this is kind of a checklist of things that should be doing. Can we identify from the scheme plan the likely costs for the services? So it's kind of like, yes, you've identified the services. What are the broad part figures going to cost? What type of buildings are required? Do we standardise or provide a different design for each building? The advantages, disadvantages. One of the things we've been hammering away at the Ministry of Education for the last 5 years is really to try and standardise the replacement of the old PMC classrooms. While we would all love to live in an architectural design building, the reality is you'll get more bang for your buck if you can standardise or look at standardising the design. What labour, staffing skills can we bring to the table in order to provide an equitable value? Landscaping, labour, the construction, something else. So when we're talking about the 25% of what you're trying to bring, or what the government are expecting you to bring into the social housing, can you trade that off on some of those other things at the start? How can we maximise our input into dollars? Okay, recommendations continue. Designer to take ideas from the concept to the drawing stage. This is both construction and landscape. Once complete, identify all of the costs or confirm the costs. Is the project able to be completed in stages or complete as one? Has the situation changed? That question has to be continually asked as you go through. You make your biggest savings on a project during the planning stage. Once you've got your confirmed plans and things like that, you're struggling to reduce the dollars on your project. So planning is very important. And at the end of it all, apply for funding. So it's about 9 minutes. We've got a minute for questioning, but that's just a little bit of an overview of our business. The numerous projects that we've done where clients have brought us a problem, and it's interesting to